We're focusing on tips to help you get the mastery camo in zombies as easy as possible. There's over 20 different challenges to do when you go through this grind. Most are pretty straightforward, but some you may run into struggles, especially with some particular weapons. So I'm gonna go ahead and give you tips along the way to kind of guide you through each one so this mastery camo can be as easy as possible. In terms of loadout, some things I recommend, especially if you have nothing unlocked in terms of the augments, I would recommend leveling up fireworks. That's gonna help you much later into the grind and for several weapons that need this particular challenge. And the major augment I'm gonna recommend is Starburst. The minor are Starlight and High Yield. And for survivability, Quick Revive, Dying Wish is probably the way to go, even though Equivalent Exchange is pretty good, but that one requires you to have a secondary pistol that's pretty good as well, which isn't always the case when you're grinding camo. In terms of weapons, I recommend using a suppressor for the extra salvage as well as extended mag. It's also important to strategize which weapons you're going to do in which order. Obviously, there's certain level requirements for certain weapons, but on top of that, a lot of them require ammo mods, and you get different ammo mods at various levels. Cryo at 12, but then Brain Rot at 51. So you might want to wait on some of the weapons until you're over 51 to do the Brain Rot challenges, or once you prestige, potentially use a permanent unlock on something that high so you'll always have access to it. And even though we have in-game tracking, one of the tools I used was part of the Codmunity. They have a great camo tracker that keeps up to date. You could check it from anywhere as long as you set up your profile really quickly. You can actually just click the boxes and unlock your various camos and keep track of where you're at with all the various weapons. And this is especially important in some of the challenges. Once maybe you've gotten a gold gun, maybe you hit the box and try and get another weapon, or go for one of the wild buys. And these strategies can be used on either Ashes of the Dam or Farm on the survival map, or I'm sure when the new maps come out, the general strategy is to turn on the power. Some weapons will struggle with this, so maybe you get a wall buy and then you break open the thing, and then you go and turn on the power once you've opened the door or progressed through. Ashes of the Dam, you got to do this for 3 different POIs. So for some weapons, that's going to be really less than ideal. Then once the power's on, you generally want to pick up at least one of these red canisters. Obviously, if you're playing in a party, multiple people can grab different locations. But usually you pick these up, and then these spores are going to be the most important thing when getting set up for each of the matches, especially with toxic growth. Normally, when you go ahead and activate them, they make a little bit of noise. They take a while to spit out loot, and the loot is okay. It's great for a little bit of salvage, a little bit of items, but really not all that important. Toxic growth super juices these, and toxic growth will last 3 or 4 rounds in some instances. And once you do that, you should be able to get plenty of items like Pack-a-Punch 1 or Pack-a-Punch 2, rare tool or an epic tool that automatically super juices your weapon and makes it feel strong all the way up until around 27-ish or so when you get these combined for the vast majority of weapons. And you're just going to go ahead and save that essence and save that salvage, so you'll be able to actually stock up on more perks than you probably would ordinarily and get you started. Even though it may feel a little bit slower initially, this will get you started with the best start, so your weapons feel as strong as possible and you save like 20,000 essence in the process. When it comes to farm, there's 3 of these spores, and then Ashes of the Dam, there's several, but in the opening POI, there's 2 that are pretty close to each other right in spawn. And depending on the weapon, some will be a little bit easier to use, like a rifle, versus some may be harder to run a little bit faster, like a sniper rifle, for example. So typically what you're going to want to do is, for the vast majority, if you're looking to just save time and get through the rounds faster, the Rampage Inducer is going to be able to do that. But if you go down often from having the Rampage Inducer on, it's probably not worth doing. So keep that in mind. It's really going to depend on your skill level, the individual weapon you're doing, and then also what round and challenges you're trying to focus on. Then once I've set up the toxic growth, done the spores, I go ahead and grab a couple different perks. Normally my first 2 perks are going to be Jug and Quick Revive, and then for a little bit of DPS, I'll usually get Speed Cola, since that cuts down on the reload time in between your reloads. Then I normally like to get PhD, which helps with a little bit of sliding, I believe, with the right augment. And then you're going to also get Deadshot Daiquiri as well as Double Tap. These are huge DPS based perks. And then with this, you're good all the way up to around 30 before you need to upgrade your weapon either through rarity or Pack-a-Punch again for the most part. Usually while doing challenges, I completely avoid Wisp Tea. So even though those spores can spit out a perk from time to time, I generally avoid it because having a Wisp on the field will be pretty bad. They end up killing zombies, they can kill bears, they mess with a lot of different strategies, at least until you get the augment where you make them so that they do not deal damage to zombies and only heal you. But that's quite a bit of an investment for a perk that I don't even recommend picking up for the camos. Also, as a side note, in the startup, if you have excess gobble gums, I essentially made a gobble gum loadout, which is trash gums that I will never use. And with this version of the game, you can actually consume them. So if you wanted to get started a little bit quicker on round 1, open the doors, use a full power, get your toxic growth going, you can do that a little bit sooner if you want to go ahead and just burn some of your trash gobblegum. One of the most annoying set of enemies is the Ravager. One of the things that you could always do is just kind of run around, turn on the trap, and it'll basically wipe the entire round of Ravagers. It lasts that long, especially for the rounds you're going to be doing these camos. You shouldn't run into a round that lasts longer than the trap when getting rid of the Ravagers. So that's a lot of the setup. I know I haven't really broke down specific challenges. So now we'll go ahead into one of the most important, which is critical kills. So this is for the vast majority of guns. Melee weapons, launchers, as well as shotguns have a slight variation of either point blank or just general eliminations. But when it comes to critical kills, I know that there are tons of strategies to either cheese this or stand in a specific spot, and it makes it so it's a little bit faster and stuff like that. That's fine. A lot of times those things do eventually get patched, so I'll go ahead and give you a combination of strategies. On farm, there's a specific location. If you stand in the window, the zombies just kind of jump up. Personally, I wasn't a fan of standing here and doing this. I felt like my headshot accuracy dropped a little bit, so I didn't really engage with this outside of the shotguns, which are point blanks, and I could just shoot them as they jump up and get the credit for that. So normally my strategy is kind of just run around in the middle of the map in this center section, and then I wait till I'm on the low side of the map. And this is normally the side opposite of the perk machine, because what ends up happening is on the specific angle, when you're on the downslope, it's much easier for you to aim at the top of the heads and make sure you're getting crit kills without shooting through the horde. This was a very similar strategy we had for Cold War. On the specific pathing of the first map, you kind of run around in the general area, and then when you're on the low ground, you aim above the head so that you get that first line, and you're going to have a higher headshot or crit rate killing the zombies there. Another thing to be aware of that helps with the efficiency is being aware of where the strength of your weapon is. In a perfect scenario, it should not one shot to the body, and it should one shot to the head. Obviously, as you get to a high enough round, that won't always be the case, but generally this makes it so that even if you do miss the head and then you end up on the head, you're still going to get the crit, and you're not wasting any kills on body shots. And this is typically why I would avoid an insta kill, because then that turns everything into a one shot, so that if you are missing and hitting the chest, you're going to probably collat, get a bunch of zombies, and then end up killing a bunch. And it isn't the end of the world to not get crits, but the less crit efficiency you have, it'll end up pushing it so you end up in the higher rounds and end up taking much longer. A lot of the weapons, the vast majority, you can get gold in about 40 minutes following these individual strats. Once you've got the 1K crits out of the way, or that first set of challenges, then you're going to be unlocking into the special challenges. And if it's for brain rot, napalm, dead wire, or cryo freeze, you basically just equip the ammo mod and those will count. You just need to get the 300 kills. For shadow rift and fireworks, on the other hand, though, they only count kills from activation. Initially, the fireworks one kind of sucks. Before it's upgraded, you only get about 4 or 5 kills per activation, but once you activate it with it fully kitted, you'll get around 25 to 30 on average. Shadow Rift is still a bit of a struggle. This will take a little bit longer, but you really want to make sure that anytime it is activating it, you do have a full horde, and that's kind of the main thing. You kind of want to train up these zombies when you're doing the fireworks as well as the Shadow Rift. Train them up, get them into a little bit of a circle so that when you do get that activation, it'll pop off and then explode. And a lot of times for these two, I would use Elemental Pop with the Citrus Augment, which makes it so that the actual augment you have equipped activates more often. In these scenarios, it is definitely way more often. But if it's not one of these ammo mods, I would still recommend using the augmented version of fireworks, because all the kills from the fireworks counts. And that'll count for shortly after field upgrade. Knife while field upgrade is active. Kills the zombies rapidly. Affected by your tactical equipment. Tier 2 or higher with 2 plates. Rare or higher with Pack-a-Punch. 10 kills without reloading, armored zombies without getting hit, and elites. So basically for all of those, you end up being able to get fast progress with the fireworks, at least unless they decide to patch that one, which I don't know if they will. And I would imagine, I didn't really test, Shadow Rift probably helps in this, but fireworks gets way more kills than the other ones. So a lot of times with efficiency, you can get so many done basically instantly. And then the rapid kills with which is for the gold challenge, you're going to end up getting a horde, activate fireworks, it'll kill 10 instantly. And it's pretty straightforward. So if you are struggling with the field upgrade shortly after field upgrade, it doesn't mean when your upgrade is active pretty much any of the times, except for with the knife. They went and changed that one. So normally what will end up happening is it's like 3 or 4 seconds after you activate the field upgrade. So it doesn't matter how long or it's extended or any of those types of things. So normally how I ended up doing the knife before they changed it to make it a little bit easier, you would knife, and this example holds true for the other ones that you need to do this challenge. I'm just giving you a specific one with the knife. You would knife, and as soon as the fireworks went off, then you'd pop your field upgrade. That would kill 20, and then you would do that 4 times or so. You could probably get 3 if you're really good and the horde was nice. And you would just get it done in 3 uses. So that could be pretty helpful if you're doing that specific challenge. Same thing with the stuns. I feel like the stuns were a little bit more effective because you get 4 of them. And they're a little bit cheaper to craft. They're a low level when you're doing the tactical equipment shortly after. Even though a decoy is great, you only get 2. It doesn't last like significantly longer than a stun. So you end up getting less utility out of it for this specific challenge when all you're trying to do is just get those kills so that you can move on to the gold challenge. Once you've gotten gold on the specific category of weapons, then you got to do without getting hit. This one can be done at later rounds using just the fireworks. Like I said, get a full train, pop it, boom, it'll kill more than the 20, and then that'll get 1 tick off. You could take a hit if you want, try not to take a hit. That's gonna probably be the fastest way if it's later in the round. But worst case scenario, you just load up a new match. Don't turn on the rampage inducer. Usually takes around 7-ish. You may get hit once in the Ravager round. If you have decoys, that'll save that hit, or you want to spend it on the trap. But realistically, it's only going to take about 7 or so minutes to get the Bloodstone challenge out of the way. And as of recording this video, it was still bugged, so you just need 100 kills. But keeping in mind that if that does get patched, where you actually have to not get hit, those are the 2 strategies that will work. Well, that's the bulk of that. Let's get into the more tedious one, which is the elites. So with the elite one, it's a little bit tricky because they have made some patches. The Uber class that spawned on round 8 in Ashes of the Dam no longer counts, so that one can't be used. I did try that one initially. Also, there are bears that spawn in the fog after round 17. Those no longer spawn in, so that's another issue. Maybe they spawn in duos or more, but not in solos, so that's not really an effective strat. So you kind of got to stick with this individual strat, which is save and quit. And we'll talk a little bit about how this particular thing works. I'll probably draw it on screen just because I think that's going to be a little bit more effective way to demonstrate it along with the gameplay. Bears will always spawn on round 16. This is a given. What will end up happening is at the start of the round, you'll have a save and quit that is available. Soon as round 16 starts, you kill the bear and then you save and quit. That's the first part. Then when you load your save, you'll be on round 16 still. Save and quit will not be available. So when you load into your save, this bear will still be alive and you're going to keep that bear alive until 17, which means you have to kill all the other zombies to flip the round. Save and quit becomes available, which means if this is available, you kill this bear. Since the save and quit records the start of the round, it still has a bear that exists. You kill that bear, and then guess what? Boom, you load in, you're on 17 again. You're going to keep the bear alive, and you're going to hold them over to 18. What will end up happening in some instances, when you load into a save, you might have 2 bears. The original bear, which will have slightly lower health from holding it over in the rounds. This is why you don't want to have the wisp. It will kill the bear in like 2 hits. It knocks the things off and it completely destroys the bear, which is great. It's a great perk when you're not trying to do this challenge. But what will end up happening is you'll get 2 bears. So what you do is you kill the bear with the lowest health, and then you babysit the other bear into the next round. If I was loading into this one here and it's a save and quit and I still have the original bear that I'm saving and a new one spawns in, you kill both and then you save and quit. And that will be the most optimal way to go ahead and make sure you're holding a bear every round. So in this particular scenario, you should be done within 10 rounds. 16, 17, 18, 19, 20, 21, 22, 23, 24, 25. There it is, by round 25. If you get the double bear, then you can actually do it much sooner. I think my fastest run out of the 30 weapons, I did it on round 21. I got a single bear, and then I got double for 4 rounds. So it was a total of 6 rounds. It ended up at round 21 or 26 or something like, or 22 or something like that. So that is going to be the most effective way. You want to make sure you're avoiding, even though I know it kills them faster, napalm burst. Avoid napalm burst, because if you do not kill them faster than the napalm burst trigger, it will not count. Fireworks do count though, so just be aware of that. That maybe the bear's low enough health that the firework can kill them before you want, especially when you're trying to save them. You can utilize traps, you can use decoys, whatever it is. You just want to kill the zombies and then take care of the bear. If you're looking to lower the health of the bear, there's multiple strategies to actually kill the bear. So the main strategy that I typically used was a stun combined with an ether shroud. The reason for this is because if I break one of the spots on the bear, it'll be a weak spot, it'll be a crit spot. Then I throw the stun, it leaps up into a pose, and while the stun is thrown, before it actually goes off, I pop my ether shroud. So then the bear stays stationary with its crit spot available. Then I just instantly delete the crit spot. And for the vast majority of the weapons, if you've done the other strats to set up, you should be able to kill them in the 1 ether shroud, and then they'll be dead. And then you just move on. The other strat that is also useful, especially for a low level, is to use the dark flare. And this one is cool with the 2 charges as well, if you got the augment for that. And basically what will happen is, unless you're perfect, it generally will not kill the bear in 1 usage. So a lot of times you can get it to really low. You can see the health bar move slowly and it'll get down to around 10% health. And if you just want to go ahead and kill them after that, it's a pretty easy one. You shoot 1 crit spot and then it's basically dead. So that could be another useful tool if you just want to get rid of the bear. And this one, you just got to be a little bit more cautious around your surroundings. And then as you start backing up, if you're killing zombies in the line of sight, that's fine. And it's no big deal. The main thing is just to stay safe, stay alive. So you don't have to reset the startup every single time. You just got to get pretty good at doing that. They only have a handful of moves. They send that beehive after you. You can shoot it out of the air. If you do shoot off some of the spots on them, you can shoot the little thing on the ground, the beehive that sits on the ground, and it will destroy that. And then they have their charge attack where they basically just chase after you, where you want to change angles, break line of sight, and stuff like that. And that's their basic 3 moves, other than their slash. But you shouldn't be close enough to be getting slashed. So hopefully you found the video helpful. If you did, hit the like button. We'll see you on the next one. Thank you for watching. As always, have a great day.